high side. Murphy shooting, save a rebound on the view.
Hey everyone, this is Casey. You are watching the Red Rubber Duckwind All Sports Network, and 1 week of NFL football is upon us, and let's just say there have been some pretty chaotic matchups. I got bad news for you. There's 17 weeks left, excluding the playoffs. So we're going to go ahead and go over week 2 because this one proves to be just as chaotic, if not already. But let's go ahead and look at your week 2 matchups. On Thursday Night Football, the first one on Prime Video this year, or on Twitch, for those of you who don't like to pay for Prime Video, the Washington Commanders are traveling to Lambeau to take on the Green Bay Packers. Now, both of these teams are coming off of a win over division rivals. For the Commanders, they just took care of the Giants. For the Packers, they finally beat the Lions in Lambeau. For the first time, it's some time. Now, for the Commanders, Jaden Daniels had himself a day, 233 yards and a touchdown last week. And on 37 pass attempts, the defense only got 2 sacks. Meanwhile, the Commanders had to take 3 sacks. Hopefully, Jaden Daniels can be protected more, because the Green Bay Packers pass rush has collected 4 sacks on Jared Goff. And the defense, they were fantastic. They allowed only 13 points. They forced Detroit to go 5 for 15 on third down. And, of course, Jordan Love with 188 yards and 2 touchdowns of his own. And it's going to be very, very difficult. I see this as like a coin flip. I'm going to say the Packers go 2-0 much to the delight of Tom Grassi. Next up, we got the Cleveland Browns taking on the Baltimore Ravens. That's right, it's the new Browns versus the old Browns again. And both of these teams are coming off heartbreaking losses. For the Browns, of course, they lost the Battle of Ohio because they still don't have a field goal kicker. And for the Baltimore Ravens, they just simply collapsed. And you saw it with me on a Logical Canadians live stream. They blew a 15-point lead in less than 4 minutes, losing 41-40, which, by the way, is Scoregami. I don't know why the official Scoregami Twitter account isn't taking this. Must be a Ravens fan. It must be so butthurt. But that's last week. Let's talk about this week. So, as I mentioned, the Ravens offense, nothing wrong with them. 40 points, 6 for 11 on third down. Of course, you got the dual threat of Lamar Jackson, who through the air had 209 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, of course, the king, Henry, going for 169 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the defense really needs to find their footing, especially since they gave up nearly 400 yards of offense to the Bills, which allowed them to come back. As for the Cleveland Browns, right now the mistake isn't on defense, per se, because you held Joe Burrow to 113 yards. You also had 3 sacks, with 2 of them coming from Myles Garrett, and you had 20 off of 23 pass attempts. So the defense is fine. The offense and special teams, Joe Flacco did have himself a day with 290 yards. He did have a touchdown, but he also threw 2 costly interceptions. To be fair, one of them wasn't really his fault. It was tipped, and then it went to the Bengals defender. I see both of them struggling, but I think the high-powered Ravens offense is going to take care of the high-powered Browns defense. And now moving on, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Cincinnati Bengals in the Jaguars' second straight meeting with cats. Both of these teams, of course, coming off of a win. I talked about the Browns earlier for the Bengals. Burrow was held to 113 yards and a touchdown, but their defense actually did well themselves. They only allowed 16 points. They were 9 for 16 on, but they did allow 9 third down conversions. But they did manage to get 2 sacks on Joe Flacco and hit him 5 times. And then they only allowed 49 yards rushing. For the Jaguars, they managed to score 26 points. And Trevor Lawrence didn't get sacked one time, and Travis Etienne went off with 143 yards. And the defense, they only got 1 sack on Bryce Young, but they only allowed 113 yards. This one's going to be difficult, but I'm going to say Jacksonville walks out of Cincinnati with a win. Next up, we got another divisional matchup. You thought Browns and Ravens was going to be bad? We got the New York Giants taking on those Dallas Cowboys. Of course, both these teams are coming off of losses. The Giants, they couldn't do anything against the Commanders, and the Cowboys, they couldn't do anything against the Eagles at the start of the year for their title defense. Now the Cowboys, they did score 20 points. They were 7 for 11 on third down. And Dak Prescott ended up throwing for 188 yards. He didn't get sacked one time, so your offensive line is actually improved. However, the defense, they gave up 158 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns, and you only got 1 sack. If only there was a player that would have helped stop the bleeding. I just don't know where you can find one. As for the Giants, you had 168 yards of offense with Russell Wilson, but he did manage to get sacked twice. For the defense, you gave up 233 yards to Jaden Daniels, gave up 21 points, but you did make him go 4 for 11 on third down, and you did sack him 3 times. Now all you have to do is fix everything else, but I don't think it's going to happen this week. I'm going to say the Dallas Cowboys find their revenge and get a win. Next up, we got another divisional matchup for both of these teams, the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions. Both of these teams are coming off of losses. The Bears, of course, collapsed against the Vikings on Monday Night Football. And the Lions, they couldn't get anything going in Lambeau. Lions offense got 13 points, but they went a cold 5 for 15 on third down. Jared Goff ended up throwing for 225 yards, had a touchdown and a pick, but he managed to get sacked 4 times, with one of those being the new Packer, Micah Parsons. And the defense, they gave up 188 passing yards to Jordan Love, as well as 2 touchdowns. As for the Bears, they did manage to score 17 points. Yes, they did say 24, but keep in mind one of those was a J.J. McCarthy pick 6. But they went a cold 3 for 12 on third down. As for Caleb Williams, he threw for 210 yards and a touchdown. But they need to control the rushing defense with 120 rushing yards given up. And you got Sonic and Knuckles on the other side. And I think that might be the difference. I'm going to say the Detroit Lions take this one at Ford Field. So next up, we got the New England Patriots taking on the Miami Dolphins in an AFC East showdown. Both of these teams, of course, coming off of losses. Of course, the Patriots, they lost to the Raiders. And the Dolphins, what the hell was that in Indianapolis? You let Daniel Jones go off for 272 yards and a touchdown. You gave up 33 points, 7 for 15 on third down. And you wonder why your name tree has made you a dark horse candidate as Tank Bowl champions this year. It didn't help when Tua threw for 114 yards, a touchdown, but threw 2 interceptions, and you managed to have him get sacked 3 times. As for the New England Patriots, you had Drake May, who went off 287 yards, touchdown, a pick. However, the Raiders defense managed to sack him 4 times. And then the defense, they gave up 20 points, but they managed to let the Raiders go 5 for 13 on third down. They did sack Geno Smith 4 times, but you did give up 362 yards to him and a touchdown and a pick. The bad news is that's not going to be enough to stop the Patriots. I'm going to say New England takes us over Miami because that was an ugly, ugly loss to Daniel Jones. Next up, you got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the New Orleans Saints. For San Francisco, they're coming off of a win over Seattle. And the Saints, they're coming up with a loss to Arizona. For the 49ers, you're not going to have George Kittle. You're not going to have Brock Purdy. Instead, it's going to be Mac Jones coming in to try to save the Niners offense. They only scored 17 points, went 7 for 14 on third down, and they ended up letting the Seahawks defense sack Purdy once. But the main person you need to worry about, Christian McCaffrey. He went off for 142 yards of total offense. And the defense, they managed to sack Darnold 1 time, but they did give up 150 yards. For the Saints, Spencer Rattler, he did all he could, 214 yards, but going 27 for 46 might be a bit concerning. And the defense, they managed to give up 20 points. They went 6 for 13 on third down. You gave up 163 yards passing and 146 yards rushing. You didn't get any interceptions, and you gave up 2 touchdowns. And I think the woes for the Saints will continue. I'm going to say the 49ers take this one. Next up, you have another AFC East matchup. You have the Buffalo Bills taking on the New York Jets. Of course, the Buffalo Bills, they're coming off of their dramatic comeback win over the Baltimore Ravens. As for the Jets, they did have a pretty decent showing against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They were locked into a battle. Unfortunately, it ended off the boot of Chris Boswell from 60 yards out. That's a career high for him. But the Jets are... It just shows that the Jets are not pushovers. They actually came here to play. Because Justin Fields went off for 218 yards, a touchdown. He only got sacked 1 time. However, the defense, they need to find a way to stop the passing offense because they did let Rodgers go for 244 yards and 4 touchdowns on his Steelers debut. But they did manage to sack him 4 times because the Steelers' offensive line, they still can't stop him. Milk carton. For Josh Allen, he had 394 yards, including that comeback with 2 touchdowns and 44 rushing yards for James Cook. I bet he's going to get more. But you did allow Lamar Jackson to get 209 passing yards. And then you allowed 238 rushing yards against the Ravens and 3 touchdowns. But you did manage to sack Lamar 2 times. It's going to be difficult to predict, but I'd say the Bills win another shootout. I'm going to say the Buffalo Bills. All right, we're halfway through. Next up, we got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, for those of you who follow my channel, you know I've been doing Steelers previews all of last season. I decided to forego a bit of it because I am doing college football as well on the side. So, for now, you're just going to get my predictions, and that's pretty much it, and I do apologize. But for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers had himself a fantastic debut. 244 yards, 4 touchdowns. But the offensive line really needs to get their act together because they did manage to allow 4 sacks. And they gave up 218 passing yards to Justin Fields and a touchdown. 32 points is inexcusable. 7 for 14 on third downs, also inexcusable. And giving up 182 rushing yards to the likes of Breece Hall and Fields is very inexcusable also. For the Seattle Seahawks, Sam Darnold made his Seahawks debut, but he managed to get 13 points for 150 yards. Sad part is the Seahawks defense wasn't too bad. They gave up 17 points, but they allowed San Francisco to go 7 for 14 on third down. But they did pick off Brock Purdy twice. However, giving up 119 yards rushing is not going to be good. And it's going to be a tight battle in Acrisure Stadium. I always call it a Heinz Field. It's what it's supposed to be. But I'm going to say the Pittsburgh Steelers start out 2-0 once again, and hopefully it doesn't lead to another 10-7 season. Next up, we got the Los Angeles Rams taking on the Tennessee Titans. Now, the Rams are coming off of a low-scoring win over the Houston Texans. Meanwhile, the Tennessee Titans are coming off of being crushed, or should I say orange crushed, by the Denver Broncos. Because Cam Ward, welcome to the NFL, buddy. And what a warm welcome by the Orange Crush, because he only had 112 yards, was sacked 6 times, and the Broncos were running wild on the Titans last week, running for 151 yards, a touchdown, and but the Tennessee defense managed to force 4 turnovers off of Bo Nix and the Broncos offense. Meanwhile, the Rams, pretty much a low-scoring affair with 14 points. They did go 7 for 13 on third down, though, but they allowed Matthew Stafford to get sacked 3 times. But 245 yards and a touchdown isn't a bad day in the office. The defense was where it was at. They only allowed 9 points, forced the Texans to go 2 for 9 on third down. But they did allow 114 rushing yards, but you allowed C.J. Stroud to have 188 passing yards. And you did manage to sack C.J. Stroud 3 times. It's going to be difficult. Actually, no, it's not going to be difficult. I'm going to say the Rams. I don't know why I keep saying it's difficult. Maybe it's imprinted in my brain. Next up, we got the Carolina Panthers taking on the Arizona Cardinals. The Panthers are coming off of a loss to Jacksonville, a.k.a. blowout. Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals are coming off of a close win in the Superdome against the Saints. Kyler Murray went 21 for 29 with 163 yards and 2 touchdowns, but he managed to get sacked 5 times. It doesn't help that they were 6 for 13 on third down. But they did manage to get 13 points. Forced the Saints to go 5 for 14 on third down. 214 passing yards, 107 rushing yards. But only 1 sack. You might be looking for more. And the Panthers, Bryce Young has yet to prove that he's worth that first overall pick. 154 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions against the Jacksonville defense. You did go 8 for 15 on third down, but 3 turnovers isn't going to fly. It doesn't help that you gave up 178 passing yards and 200 rushing yards to the Jaguars and did manage to sack Trevor Lawrence 1 time. It's going to be a difficult trip to Arizona for the Panthers. I'm going to say the Cardinals take this one. Next up, you got the Battle of the Horses. The Denver Broncos taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Both of them coming off of wins. Of course, the Broncos, they managed to defeat Bo Nix and his 4 interceptions by winning 20-12 against the Titans. For the Indianapolis Colts, they're coming off of a offensive showcase against the Miami Dolphins, 33-8. Like I mentioned earlier with Daniel Jones, 272 yards, a touchdown, only getting sacked 1 time. To go along with the Colts defense, only giving up 8 points, forcing 3 turnovers, including 2 interceptions, giving up 114 passing yards and 78 rushing yards, and sacking Tua 3 times. As for the Broncos, Bo Nix with 176 yards, a touchdown, but two costly interceptions. But you did manage to run for 151 yards. The whole offense did. And then the defense, they only gave up 12 points, forced the Titans to go 2 for 14 on third down. But they did give up 112 passing yards. However, you did manage to sack Cam Ward 6 times. And as for whoever wins this game, I'm going to say it's the Denver Broncos. And how about this? A game that should have been on Sunday Night Football, but unfortunately it's not. We never get our wishes, don't we? It's a Super Bowl 59 rematch. The Kansas City Chiefs hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles are coming off of a well-deserved victory over the Dallas Cowboys at the start of their title defense. For the Kansas City Chiefs, they just came back home after an unsuccessful business trip to Sao Paulo against the Chargers. For Jalen Hurts, the main thing to look out for is what he can do on the ground. 214 yards of total offense and then 2 touchdowns. And he only got sacked 1 time, going 8 for 13 on third down as well. The defense, they managed to only give up 20 points, but you allow the Cowboys to go 7 for 11 on third down. You gave up 188 passing yards to Dak, and of course 119 yards rushing. As for Kansas City, they didn't have a very successful trip like I mentioned. 5 for 14 on third down, 2 sacks given up. Despite that, Patrick Mahomes had 315 yards, of total offense, as well as 2 touchdowns. But giving up 318 passing yards to Justin Herbert might not be justifiable, especially when you gave up 3 touchdowns. But I'll give you credit for managing to sack Herbert 3 times. This one is going to be difficult to predict. In fact, I think this is going to be one of those toss-up matchups, despite how many people are going to pick one side or the other. But I'm going to say the Philadelphia Eagles go into Arrowhead and show that they were the team to beat last year, not the Chiefs. Next up, we got our Sunday Night Football matchup with the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Minnesota Vikings. That's right, the Vikings have back-to-back primetime games. I bet you feel special. But the Minnesota Vikings, their new star, J.J. McCarthy, he didn't go off until the fourth quarter, but he still managed to pick up 143 yards with 2 touchdowns. However, you did only go 3 for 12 on third down, and you managed to get sacked 3 times. But the Vikings defense, they only gave up 17 points. Keep in mind, again, a Chicago pick 6. 210 passing yards allowed, but 2 sacks on Caleb Williams. For the Atlanta Falcons, it was an unsuccessful premiere of the Michael Penix show. Basically, Younghoe Koo sending the ball wide right. Sorry to you Bills fans still watching this. But Michael Penix did go off. He had 319 yards of total offense and only getting sacked 1 time. Not to mention Bijan Robinson getting 100 receiving yards and a touchdown. But you did allow 167 passing yards to Baker Mayfield, allow 3 touchdowns, but you did manage to get him 1 time. This is going to be a back and forth affair, but I'm going to say J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings go to 2-0. Next up, we have a doubleheader for Monday Night Football this week. Because while the Buccaneers are going to be starting at a normal time, 7 o'clock, there's another game that's going to be starting at 10 o'clock Eastern. And you wonder why us East Coasters have a very bad light. But here, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Houston Texans in the 7 o'clock game. For the Buccaneers, Baker Mayfield has been the X factor. 167 yards and 3 touchdowns, only getting sacked 1 time. As for the defense, you only got one sack on Michael Penix, but you did force him to go 6 for 15 on third down. However, giving up nearly 300 yards passing is very inexcusable, as well as a touchdown, but 69 rushing yards allowed as well. Nice. And a touchdown. That's something that the Buccaneers would like to fix. The Texans, they pretty much have to fix everything on offense because CJ Stroud, despite having 188 passing yards, he did throw a pick. He only went 2 for 9 on third down, and he got sacked 3 times. The defense, sadly, had a very good showing, all things considered, at least on the score sheet. 14 points, only 14 points given up, sacking Matthew Stafford 3 times, only giving up 72 rushing yards, but only forcing 7 for 13 on third down and 245 passing yards allowed will not fly. Especially against this Buccaneers offense. I think they're going to eat that for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm going to say Tampa Bay takes down Houston. And for some reason, this game is on at 10 o'clock Eastern. No, I will not complain. No, I will not stop complaining about it. We got the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. Of course, when we mentioned Justin Herbert earlier, a very successful trip in Sao Paulo for him. 318 yards, 3 touchdowns, but getting sacked 3 times. But you have a Chargers defense to accompany that with only allowing 98 rushing yards as well as getting 2 sacks on Patrick Mahomes. For the Raiders, pretty successful trip up to New England as well as Geno Smith going off for 362 yards, a touchdown, a pick, but he did manage to get sacked 4 times. And that's hopefully an easy fix for their offensive line. The defense, that is where it was at. 13 points. 4 for 14 on third down. Only 60 rushing yards allowed. Sacking Drake May 4 times. But you did allow May to go off for 287 yards. Passing, you get a touchdown, but you did manage to pick him off once. Is it going to be enough to stop the Chargers offense? I don't think so. I'm going to say Los Angeles. I almost said Jacksonville for 1 second. But I'm going to say the Chargers take this one in Las Vegas. And that is going to do it from me. Hopefully you guys like the predictions. Last week I went 11-5, not too bad. I think I finished near the top 5 in the Tom Grossi Discord servers group. And hopefully I can get some more points. Hopefully I can get more points this week. And we'll see how well I do. But thank you guys so much for watching. Please feel free to like, comment, share this with your friends, and subscribe to the Red Rubber Duck Win All Sports Network. Hopefully I see you guys very shortly because I'm going to be releasing a Week 2 college football recap because I wasn't able to get the predictions out, as well as a preview for Week 3 of college football. It's going to be fun. But until we meet again, I will see you all in the next one. Take care, you guys.